Hey guys, okay, so this is my first time doing this, so I'm gonna bear with me. So you should have this worksheet here. And so this is the worksheet you're gonna be working on while I kind of walk you through this a little bit. So you're just gonna match like the Amendment 13, which we're gonna talk about, to which one of these pictures is 13th Amendment on down 13, 14, 15, 19, 24, and 26th. And then here's gonna be a tricky part. You might have to pause the video, especially when we get to amendments, and kind of read through these and figure out which one is connected to which one. So decide which amendment or law it is. It includes the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which we'll talk about. And then we're going to skip this one. And then right here, should be your third worksheet, the crossword. And so it's got good information there. So this is what you're working on while I do this video. So just fill it in. And hopefully at the end, we'll go through the answers if we have time. So we'll start with naturalization. A little bit of this is going to be review, so I'm going to go fast through the review in case someone was absent, didn't get it all. And then I'll slow down. We start getting to the amendment stuff because that's when it kind of gets a little more wonky. Okay, and that's what stuff we haven't gone through yet. So, all right, naturalization. So we know what naturalization is. What we're going to talk about is citizenship is a person, a legal member of a nation, and someone pledges his or her loyalty to that country. Citizenship is defined in the 14th Amendment. Whenever you see 14th Amendment, think citizen. 14th Amendment, Citizenship Amendment. It is the citizenship. Anything to do with citizenship is going to be wrapped up in the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment is what defines who is a citizen and who is not. Okay, so can immigrants become United States citizens? Of course they can. Who can become a United States citizen? How can an immigrant become a United States citizen? We should already know the answers to that. Okay, so the question, can immigrants become U.S. citizens? Of course they can. Through the process called naturalization. If you are not born a citizen, you have to be naturalized to be a citizen. And we've kind of went over that quite a bit. So who can become a United States citizen? Those that meet the requirements. You have to meet the requirements before you even think about citizenship. Do you meet the requirements? There are basic things you have to have or skills you have in order to even apply for naturalization. Here are the requirements. You have to be at least 18 years of age. Be a lawful permanent resident for how many years? That's right, 5 years. Be of good character. You can't be a bad guy. Have basic knowledge of English and understand U.S. government and civics, the very basic level. If you don't have these things, you cannot apply for naturalization. These are the requirements. Now, the steps are different. These are the steps you take, the actual naturalization process. Fill out an application with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Office. Step 1. Step 2, you talk with the official. Then you take a citizenship exam. There's like an interview in there too. You take the citizenship exam. Then after you will, somewhere in there, see, there's another step in here you got to remember. You have to be fingerprinted. To be fingerprinted and background checked to make sure you're what? Of good moral character. Good character. And then the last thing where you get your citizenship paperwork through naturalization is attend a ceremony. You attend that citizenship ceremony, you get your papers, you throw the big party. It's a very exciting time. And you take your oath of allegiance. An oath of allegiance is not the Pledge of Allegiance. The oath of allegiance is different. It is an immigrant pledging their allegiance and loyalty to America. And so so these are the steps. We know that. Here are the requirements. Things you have to be. 18 years old, live here for at least 5 years, good moral character. You got to know basic English because your test is in English. You have to understand basic civics. Why? Because you're going to take a test. Why do you have to be of good moral character? Because you're going to be background checked, right? And so this is the basic stuff. Here's the process. And then here's the office. This is kind of interesting. in Orlando, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service in Orlando. This is where it all begins. Excuse me, I am so sorry. So this is where it all begins for citizens. They come in, they apply. Here are the steps, guys. You go to this office. You apply. There's the application. You talk to an administrator there or an official there. You do have to be background checked. That's like a middle step there. It is important. You take your little citizenship test and you pass. Then you attend an oath. See, all these immigrants, they're taking the oath of allegiance, loyalty to the country. So they earned their naturalization citizenship paperwork. Isn't that cool? Okay, so now we're talking about responsibilities and obligations. As citizens, we have responsibilities and obligations. Remember, responsibilities are things we should do. But if we don't do it, it's not the end of the world. Obligations are things you have to do as a citizen. If you don't do fulfill your obligation as a citizen, you can end up in jail. So what are they? Let's see. These are obligations, things we have to do. You have to obey the law or you're going to jail. And this is all necessary to keep society functioning. You have to report to jury duty. There are citizens, when citizens break the law and they're accused of a crime, they have the right to stand before a jury of their peers and plead their case and be heard, and both sides of the story be heard and presented, and then a jury of peers, unbiased 12 members of society, random citizens coming together to decide if this person's guilty or not. We serve on juries, not just because it's fun. Really, it's not. You're chosen. But you serve in these juries because it is the person's right that is standing trial. It's their right to be heard. So we have to fulfill those obligations. If you're summoned for jury and you don't show up, guess what? You're going to get a warrant out for your arrest and you can go to jail. Not good. You have to pay taxes. That's a law. Serve as a witness in a trial. If you're summoned and you witness something, you have to stand trial for. You have to stand and give an account for that. You could be served. Serving in the military if needed. Okay, this is the selective service. Selective service. This is the draft. In Vietnam War, we were in the middle of a war and we didn't have enough people to fight. So we didn't have a big enough military. So they had to randomly choose from the selective service pool young men to go and fight to defend the country. So that's called selective service. It is different than military service because military service is when you go and you sign up willingly for the service. That's different. Selective service is when the government selects you to go and defend the country. And then you have to attend school. That's a requirement. So you have to do that because we want an informed, intelligent society. And that's part of that. Okay, so this is why are citizens 18 and over obligated to jury service. It allows a person accused of a crime to have his or her constitutional right to be tried in a court of law by one's peers. Just talked about that. So what a jury summons looks like. Okay, so moving right along. Selective service, remember, is men between the ages of 18 and 25 are required by the government to register for military service. Military has been made up of volunteers since 1973. It was the Vietnam War was the last time that a draft took place where young men were selected and had to go fight in Vietnam. So civic responsibilities, these are things you should do, but you don't have to do. Be informed. No one's going to come arrest you for not being informed. Okay, and being informed is not getting your news from social media. No. It's actually being informed. Vote. No one's coming to your house to get you if you don't vote. But it's something you should do. It's a responsibility. It's something you should do, but you don't have to. Respect rights and property of others and participate in your community. Okay, and so that's the end of that. So we're going to go to your notes. I want you to look at, we went through law of blood, law of soil. Remember, law of blood is a person, a citizen born, their parents, one or both of their parents are citizen because it's law of blood. Law of soil, any baby born in the U.S. on U.S. soil or territory or embassy or whatever is law of soil. So that baby is a citizen by law of soil. Are you not born a citizen? No worries. You can be naturalized. And a naturalized citizen, of course, is an immigrant. There are the requirements. We just talked about 18 years of older, permanent lawful resident, has lived in the U.S. for how many years? That's right, at least 5. Be a good moral character and have a good working knowledge of English. Here are the steps we already went through. Now we're going to talk about amendments. The 14th Amendment we know is the Citizenship Amendment. It defines citizenship. We know obligation, things we have to do, responsibility, things we should do. And here are some examples here. What's selective service? That's right. When the government selects young men or boys to fight and defend the country. Jury summons, that's when you're given a jury summons and called to stand in a jury to judge a peer that is standing trial. Common good, what's best for all. Yeah, you have every right to drive 150 miles down I-95. Yeah, that's your right. That's your freedom. But guess what? You don't get to do that. Why? Because for the common good of the person driving next to you, that's just not a good idea. So for the common good, we have speed limits. Civic participations, participating in government. We're not going to worry about these because we're going to cover these terms right here during Bill of Rights. So I'm just not going to cover these. Keep them in your notes because we'll come back to them when we do Bill of Rights. Aliens, someone from another country. Sometimes we call them as immigrant. Someone that moves to another country, immigrant. Resident, someone that lives here. So do people that live here, are they all citizens? Does every person that lives in the U.S., are they a citizen? No. They're on visas. They're here by green cards. They're here to, some people, immigrants are here for vacation. But not everyone that is here, lives here, lives here is an immigrant. Okay, so something I want to show you real quick. If I can find it. Okay, so now we're going to go through that worksheet. Remember that worksheet I was showing you? Actually, I think I'm going to save that for this worksheet right here. And then we're going to match the amendments. So you're going to pay attention to the amendments that we're going to go over. And you're going to fill out this worksheet as we go over these amendments, okay? So I'm going to pause the video. And we're going to go over citizenship.